The Nintendo Switch 2 has been the topic of discussion for a number of years. Released in 2017, the original Nintendo Switch is considered a competitor to both the 8th and 9th console generations. The 8th generation being the Nintendo Wii U, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. The 9th generation is respectively the Xbox XS and PlayStation 5. Since Nintendo plays to the beat of their own drum, it's not surprising to see that they're launching the newest addition to the Switch family only 5 years after the PlayStation and Xbox had their newest additions. Sony's next console isn't expected to launch until closer to 2030, with the mid-console refresh line, the PlayStation 5 Pro, launching in 2024. For Microsoft, the latest rumors lean more towards 2026 with a handheld companion or maybe just a handheld console similar to the Switch or Steam Deck. The Nintendo Switch didn't just change console gaming for us, allowing a family member who was occupying the TV to simply pick up the console and play it handheld. It changed handheld gaming too. Nintendo has been the true dominating force in the handheld world for many years, going all the way back to the black and white Game Boy and to the Nintendo DS and 3DS family. They know how to suck players in for a gaming fix on the go. However, with the introduction of the Switch, Nintendo thought it was time to pivot to a more hybrid console within the industry. The move, by all means, makes sense from Nintendo's perspective. By focusing the manpower on one system instead of two separate ones, they can keep support going for longer and create a better system instead of one great one and one not so great one at times. Going back to the Nintendo DS, it didn't just keep Nintendo in the console race with poor sales from both the N64 and the GameCube. It completely changed handheld gaming as we knew it. Although touted as the savior of Nintendo, there is a dark side to the DS. It's sort of blamed for destroying the handheld market in gaming, which isn't entirely fair given that Sony could have used money from their excelling console sales to support the PlayStation Vita as a competitor, but we can't make conclusive statements like the Nintendo DS has ruined everything without having a few amendments made to it. Sony could have done exactly what Nintendo was doing. They used the handheld system to support the console system. But with Nintendo bowing out of the handheld market and instead moving towards a portable console market, other companies have started to follow suit. The PlayStation Portal, allowing gamers to get a fix in a not so easily moved way on the go. A Steam Deck, which faces another similar problem. It's big. It's really big. But that just seems to be the problem in general. Once you put the Nintendo Switch in a carrying case, you're also sacrificing a large amount of space in your bag or suitcase just to get a bit of gaming done on the go. Handheld gaming isn't really handheld anymore, leading back to what I just said, console gaming on the go. It doesn't feel easy for me to pack up a console anymore and take it with me, or it would have been a handheld device in the past. In fact, the only one that I am currently taking with me is my PS Vita. I had the Vita laying around the house, and I'd charge it once every few months just to keep the battery from completely dying, but I didn't really use it that much besides that. But I have an upcoming trip this year and started looking at how much these pocket emulators cost. The price wasn't out of the question, but $100 in 2024 feels not the best when I have other alternatives available to me for free. As I continue to browse the handheld emulator market, an interesting video reappeared in my YouTube algorithm. It was a tutorial on hacking your PS Vita. Now, the Vita community is apparently alive and well, but just not in the way that I anticipated. I know a lot of you out there are aware that the PlayStation Portable, or PSP, was known for mostly being a homebrew device. It had some good titles on it, of course, but a lot of people purchased the device for exactly the same reason the Vita is selling now. I'm not going to pretend to understand the process I did on my Vita well enough to re-explain it here, but I was incredibly astounded by the simplicity of it. I only had one hiccup while doing it, and to be fair to that process, it actually had to do with the native software of a PS Vita and not the tutorial or hacking the system itself. My Vita, which had been, again, largely collecting dust, was brushed off and is actively seeing a lot of use. It's interesting that the games I've been playing are ones that I still have access to, but it's a lot of work to track down the system, the cables, and maybe some batteries as well, just to play a game. My family has gotten better over time at storing them in more collected areas, but it's not an easy access for all of them, especially when you start to live in different cities where trips become less and less frequent to see one another. Not only is using a PS Vita economical since Sony stopped supporting them in 2021, but it also allows users to easily play official PSP and PS Vita games on the console. These emulators aren't fully overwriting the software that is on the PS Vita. It's making launchable apps so you can load more content onto it. It's essentially the same as going out and buying something like the Mio Pocket, except in some cases you already own the PS Vita and are saving a piece of tech from the landfill. And perhaps the most important thing it reminded me of, and how this all relates back to the Nintendo Switch, is how good mobile gaming was in the era of Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance in particular. I enjoyed the DS, but looking back on it, it's not my favorite gameplay loop or idea that Nintendo has had. You can lose a stylus super easily. But we can't forget that the Nintendo DS is one of the best-selling pieces of consoles or handheld devices ever, only 6 million units behind the PlayStation 2, and bringing up the rear is the Nintendo Switch. In 2025, it's clear that portable consoles are king, with both best-selling home consoles either being portable themselves in the case of the Nintendo Switch or having a portable option like Sony's PlayStation Portal that can link up to your PlayStation 5. It's like we're returning to something we sort of always knew. We like to game on the go when we have a few extra minutes. The thing is, I think the Game Boy era was just so much better at it. And this isn't looking at something through rose-colored glasses. This is a frustrating reality that the portable gaming just isn't that portable anymore. Bigger hardware in these systems also means more complex games. And I know this isn't the case for everyone, but I don't want to play a complicated game on the go. I don't want an intense gameplay loop. I want platformers, roguelikes, dungeon crawlers, RPGs. Something that has a quick and accessible save state, not long cutscenes to wait through before you can save. The point of portability in gaming is, yes, giving us access to more time gaming, which means more money for these companies, but it's also for convenience, for our convenience. It isn't convenient to lug around these systems. This isn't to say that just because someone is playing Elden Ring, they'll never play another game or venture into another genre on their portable machine. I'm sure they are and will in their spare time. But there was something so engaging on Game Boy about having games that you're able to play for a short session versus the buckle up and get ready to go session. I think Stardew Valley is the closest modern game to capture this, with the time of a day being 13.5 minutes to complete on average. And while I've been thinking about it, I started looking around to see if anyone else was talking about this issue online. I found an interesting Reddit thread on True Gaming where a few points were brought up regarding mobile gaming in the modern age. The one thing that stood out to me, and explained it better than I could ever think to, is how modern mobile gaming is about bringing the PC or console experience on the go. While this sounds good on paper, it causes the size of our handhelds to dramatically increase. It creates a more powerful system requirement, likely less battery life, and has transformed our handhelds from being pocketable into needing a carrying case and dedicated space in our bags. A lot of people in cities are used to carrying around a large enough daily life as is. Water bottle, lunch, necessities for work and our day, and to add another console likely the size of our forearm or larger, it doesn't feel like the most portable solution. And when I'm traveling, I only ever bring it as a security blanket. I'll definitely use it, and then it proceeds to sit locked in my suitcase for 3 weeks in a hotel room. It also changes the type of games we play on the go too. For certain franchises, it's changed the way we create them entirely. Some of the original generations of Pokemon are still heralded as the best, and the games were dramatically reduced in terms of features, graphics, and gameplay. Pokemon has continued to grow and change, and the games are often shoved full of new experimental features. I'm all for companies trying something new, and I'll be the first to admit I had a really good time on Scarlet and Violet. But Game Freak is still creating half-baked games with little to no optimization. It is an attempt at creating games that players can take on the go with the at-home console feel, when in reality that is not what mobile gaming excels at. I'm struggling to phrase the way that I want to put this, but when developers have the opportunity to create games that are more simplistic in controls, but still feel just as good as an at-home console experience, we end up with classic on-the-go games like Kirby, Pokemon, Zelda, Dragon Warrior. None of these games have to remain handheld exclusives, and I'm not saying developers should relegate IPs to one or the other. Zelda didn't even start on a handheld. But there's a feeling to handheld gaming that I think is missing in modern days. I would agree that I think we are seeing subcategories of how we game on the go. Some of us prefer emulation, some are starting to use their phones to game to save even more space and weight when traveling, and others are just bringing consoles with them. There is a world where I can picture using a portable console and being happy with it. If I traveled non-stop and didn't have a place to hang my hat at the end of the day, I would want a Nintendo Switch or a Steam Deck to continue gaming. But there would still be a small part of me that desires a compact device I can fit inside a pocket. Although I will continue to hope for the return of portability in gaming, I think with the launch of Nintendo Switch 2, we have cemented in console gaming on the go for the next few generations. Perhaps forever. I went to a big phone for a while, and after going back to what a new normal phone is, there's still a desire for something even smaller. And perhaps it's because in an ever-connected world, I'm beginning to feel the fatigue of overstimulation from all the tech we have on us at all times. But the idea of walking into a pawn shop and buying a Game Boy to take around me, like, it just doesn't feel silly to take that around with me anymore. And I don't know if it's just me, but with this Nintendo Switch 2 launch, all I keep thinking about is, are we going to continue down this path? Because pretty soon it doesn't look like we're going to have PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series XS sitting in our living room anymore. We're going to have a dockable portable machine. And again, in some cases, this is not a bad thing. Taking your Nintendo Switch home to your family, if they all have Switches, is super easy. You grab the console, you grab the games that you want that you have in little cartridges, you put it in a case and you go. They have docks, they have chargers, they have everything. You can charge it on USB-C if you need to. I don't know if you should, but you can. But there's a difference between being able to travel easily with something that we own and having something that's portable gaming. And I don't believe that these are currently portable gaming. And so I think with the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2 and the way that Nintendo is continuing to drive us and push us, and this is completely expected. I didn't think they were going to do another brand new console. There was a leak that at one point they tested a console and it completely flopped with the consumers that they tested it with. I didn't think they were going to really push that hard because Nintendo Switch 2 just makes sense. But with the future being just more Nintendo Switch 2, more Steam Decks, more portable consoles, where are we going in the gaming industry? Because clearly more powerful machines were not the answer. These portable machines sacrifice power. If it wasn't power and it's not portability, what do we want? My name is Alana, and you've been listening to Beyond the Button Mash. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube or on most major podcasting platforms like iTunes or Spotify for future episodes. Thank you for listening.